Hello everyone. So it's been a while again. I've been busy doing other stuff, focusing on other things, but here we are. After 25 years, Patek decided to introduce a new collection called the Cubitus, as you probably already know. And I thought about it, should I do a video or should I not do a video? And here we go. I'll do a quick one, give you my opinion about it in case you care. I haven't gone into the very details of it. If I want to summarize it in a sentence, 25 years after the last release, and this is what you come up with, a square Nautilus. I have to say, I haven't seen it in the flesh. The case, I'm sure, is quite interesting, lots of details, and also very thin, so it could sit very nice on the wrist. And Patek is known for making ultra thin sports watches that are very elegant as well. So that would be the pro, I guess. What I clearly don't like, you take basically Nautilus style, and then not just that, but you take the olive green Nautilus style, and you take basically the Nautilus bracelet, and that's the innovation. I mean, I don't know, 25 years later, and that's the best you can come up with. If you can really call it a square Nautilus, and if you want to be even more negative, I guess, or critical rather, it's been almost 50 years since 1976 when the Nautilus came out. And this is really the best invention you can come up with. And if Genta would have seen this, I would really be curious what he would have said. The only counter argument that you can make is to say, okay, the last collection that came out was the Aquanaut. Oh, it was a 24, I don't know. But the Aquanaut came out in the 90s sometime and also shares similarities with the Nautilus. And maybe Patek is basically saying, look, if we come out with a sports watch, or if we produce a sports watch, it's going to look a certain type of way. So meaning that the Nautilus, the Aquanaut, the Cubitus, and whatever else there might be, they're all going to share some similarities because this is the way we see things at Patek Philippe. Similar to Rolex, who says, hey, all of our sports watches have an oyster case. So maybe that's just Patek's way of viewing things. But at the same time, I have to say, I really find it disappointing. Again, it's a Nautilus style, it's a Nautilus bracelet, and it's basically a square-shaped Nautilus. And also, if you Patek Philippe, if you get rid of the Geneva seal in 2009 because you're better than everyone else in the game, and then you do this, you put a round movement in a square-shaped watch, and the name even hints at it being a square-shaped product watch, that to me feels like cutting corners. And you use, as I understand, I haven't gone to the nitty-gritties, an existing movement, and you put a module on top of it, and you don't even bother to make a square movement, to at least adapt an existing movement and make it square. I really don't get it. And also size-wise, again, I didn't wear this thing so far, but 45 mil from 10 to 4 o'clock, it looks rather, and if I read it sounds rather big. I think, I don't know who it was, if it was Ben Clymer or someone else, but someone put it next to 5811. It didn't look so much bigger, rather similar, but still I think it's going to feel different because it's a square watch. It's going to feel bigger is what I want to say. So it feels a bit like cutting corners and really like a lack of innovation. And of course it was only just a rumor, but people were expecting this to have a quick change, so you could swap the bracelet to a, I don't know, rubber, to a leather strap, what have you. And that's not the case. You have 3 models. You got a steel model, which is probably the one everyone wants to have with that olive green dial. I mean, it's going to go for crazy prices straight out the gate because there's enough people that want to have the latest and quote-unquote greatest. But I think in the long run, it's going to dip, my opinion at least. I'm not a fan of two-tone, but this looks really nice for a two-tone, I have to say. But yeah, not my cup of tea. And that's the big daddy if you want the platinum. Cubitus, grand date. The innovation I see here is that the diamond, because it's a platinum one, is not round shaped, but rather a baguette. So hinting at the Cubitus name again and design formula. I like the big date, but this is where it stops. It sort of is reminiscent of a 5712, and never been a fan of that watch. Asymmetric. But hey, okay, at least you don't have a power reserve here. But still, yeah, it has, I think, 7 patents or so, but yeah, it's not the level of innovation that I would would have expected, and also not the consequence in execution that you would expect from Patek Philippe. I think every other brand besides Patek and Rolex could have done this, and yeah, it would have been okay, but for Patek, no. And also, apparently this should target a younger demographic, should be sort of an entry-level watch, and you look at this, steel, time, date only, 35K Swizzies. If you think about it, the 5711, when it was discontinued, I think it was 2728, and that's after quite a hefty price bump from low mid-20s, I guess. And now, just a few years later, you're talking about $35,000 for a steel watch with, again, time and date only. I don't know whether that really makes things more accessible. And yes, I think I understand you want to target a younger demographic. And one of the biggest collectors was actually invited to attend the event, and he posted on social media the unveiling and all that stuff. And the music and the vibe that she got from there reminded me of an event that AP did with a music artist at Bergenstock this summer, which also shocked me a bit, I have to say. It was very hypey, trendy, and everyone was wearing a Royal Oak, and it sort of made you feel like this was just a fashion accessory. And yeah, I'm not too surprised that AP went into this direction, even though it's not what I would have preferred. But if I listen to the music that was played at the Patek launch and the sort of overall vibe, it kind of reminded me of that AP event, and that is certainly not something that I expected from Patek. Now again, I get it. You want to go with the time to some extent, and go after younger buyers, clients. But I'm not sure whether this is the right way to go. To me, this just made the Nautilus all that more attractive again, even though what I really want doesn't exist anymore. 5711 in rose, in steel is gone. 58, as I said before, different proportions, thinner and wider. Closest thing you could have proportion-wise would be a 5712, but again, I really don't like that watch. And then, 5726 is really nice. One of the few pieces that's still offered in steel and is not too chunky. And then, of course, if you want to make a statement, there's other stuff as well. But proportion-wise, it would have to be a 5712, 5740. And in this, I think, is probably very similar to the 5711 as well. But yeah, the good old days are gone, but there's still some models in the collection that I think are attractive. And even more attractive now after, it's been rumored for a year or two already that Patek would come out with something completely new. And it's just a disappointment. And similar to when, Stern said, yeah, we're going to come out with something better than the 5711. And better in his view is it's basically white gold, so it has higher margins for him. So I get it, you need to be younger, you need to target younger clients, but there's other ways you could do this. I still am waiting for a successor to the 5196. The simple time-only Calatrava manual wound. The closest thing we have to a successor is the 6119, which, however, of course, has the hobnail bezel, Clou de Paris, so it gives it a completely different feel. It's more of an 80s sort of Calatrava, and it's 39 mils. And in my opinion, everyone's going smaller with sizes, not just in the dress watch space, but particularly there, I think, actually everywhere. And Patek is going bigger, and so if they ever come out with a successor to the 5196, it's going to use the same movement, and it's probably going to have the same dimensions as the 6119. So there's still work to be done, and rather easy work to be done. Other attempts, and if you want to have a classic Calatrava, you have to go to this one here, right? But that's a date automatic, and as you can tell by the picture, it's been here for quite some time, and it's also not going to be my favorite. So other attempts to speak to a younger audience was the 5226 with this sort of Leica camera body sort of dial. Not my cup of tea. Yes, the hobnail detailing is nicely done. But yeah, Patek's way of going younger, okay, at least they tried. And then a 6007 in yellow, red, and blue. Again, I didn't go into the details, but what I understand is that this dial here is not a guilloche pattern in the middle, but that's rather a stamp dial, and I'm not sure if this is true, but if it's true, it's also not Patek level. And then I'm not saying they don't do anything right when they want to become younger. There's interesting stuff if you have enough money. This one here, 10th of a second monopusher chrono in platinum with a canvas strap, but this is really something else. Manually wound, but this is something else in terms of pricing. So I'm not saying they don't do anything interesting. You know, what I think was interesting was the weekly calendar a while back. Not something I would buy, but is it still in the... I don't even know. I expected it was still in the collection. Here, 5212 with the handwritten font on it in steel. But yeah, also 40 mil. So yeah, there's not too much, in my opinion, that ticks all the boxes that I would want to see. But again, I'm going off topic here. So I understand you want to target a younger demographic. But really, Cubitus, Nautilus, Aquanaut, this is your sports lineup. And the Cubitus, in my opinion, yes, apparently, referring to one of the interviews that Mr. Stern did, there will also be other sizes they're going to be available. I don't know, maybe a mid-size or a women's size. But yeah, it's listen, I'm happy I don't need to go out and buy another watch because this really doesn't do it for me. And it just sort of proves my point and my viewpoint that I had, I don't know, 15 years ago, where I wasn't too excited about the annual watch fairs because I said, hey, all the icons classics already out there. Of course, every now and then you're going to see something interesting, a significant change of things or an update. But for the most part, the stuff we like, or many people like, or that was basically stood the test of time, is already out there, and it just shows you how hard it is to basically reinvent the wheel. And what I also want to say, I think it is a nice example, if you think about it. The Cubitus, in my opinion, is a nice example of what happens if your marketing budget and your R&D budget is just too big. Okay, you throw all those resources at a project, and you come up with this. And it can't beat, I don't want to know how long they've been at this, right? And still, they can't beat this simple design, which Genta, I think the Royal Oak took him less than a day. Pretty sure the Nautilus didn't take him much longer. And you can't beat this, even despite all the money and resources you throw at it. It speaks for the Nautilus, and it just speaks, I guess, for, I don't know, statistics, that it's hard to, produce and push out positive outliers all the time. There's a reason that, data points are clustered across the average, because most of what companies, individuals produce is going to be more or less 1 or 2 standard deviations above or below average. And yeah, it just shows you how tough it is to be truly excellent, even if you're Patek Philippe. And ultimately, it just reassured me of my opinion that Rolex is king. I'm not saying Rolex has everything right, of course not. Puzzle dial, celebration, other stuff like that. But still, I like the approach better. And it it feels also, yeah, I don't know. I just prefer it. So anyway, this is not a very structured video. Maybe you found it interesting, maybe not. If you like the watch, go ahead and buy it. Try to buy it. There's going to be a wait list anyway. It's going to go above retail because there's always going to be enough people that need to have the latest and quote unquote greatest. But I'm thankful that this time around, I don't have the urge to buy this watch. Anyway, let me know what you think, and until the next one, bye-bye.